Brothers and sisters in Christ, in the first reading that we heard from Zephaniah, promises that God will leave a remnant. So it is about a people who are humble and lowly. These are not people who lack talent or drive, but they are people who have cleared enough space in their hearts for God to dwell there. So they take refuge in the name of the Lord rather than their own reputations or strengths. And in our second reading, we hear from the first letter of St. Paul to the Corinthians. He is so honest and very blunt, actually. Look at God's chosen. So consider your own calling. Then he reminds those Corinthian Christians of their standing in the eyes of the world. They were not wise by human standings. Not many were powerful. Not many were of noble birth. Indeed, he says, God chose the foolish, the weak, the lowly, and despised of the world. So God's way of working sometimes or always probably do not match human expectations. God chooses the weak to reveal where true strength lies. God shows the limits of worldly wisdom by offering us the saving wisdom of Christ. Dear brothers and sisters, in our world today, our world has its own way of ranking people's worth. We are obsessed with what person earns, possesses, or achieves. And we tend to ask about someone's resume, education, title, visibility, and success. But Paul contradicts the standard used by the world, showing us that God does not rely on our high ranking in society to save us, but by choosing the foolish, the weak, the lowly, and no one can boast. If you want to boast in the Lord. That St. Paul tells us in the second reading. So we can see in this insight of St. Paul that we realize that the life with God is a given, not earned. So Paul lays out the Christian life for us. So he shows that God has redefined what it means to be wise, powerful, and blessed. Sometimes we may think, so it means wisdom looks like the cross. It's heavy. It's difficult if we hear these readings. And power becomes self-giving. And glory looks like the humility, being humble. So what then we possibly boast about? Paul stated quietly, clearly, whoever boasts should boast in the Lord. And seems like St. Paul and the gospel of today, they are on the same page. So Jesus tells us, show us the Beatitudes, and begin with the words, blessed are. So on how we understand this one, the blessed are, simply is with the word happy. Happy are those who are poor in Christ, happy are those who are poor in spirit. And because each of the Beatitudes describes a condition that actually we want in our lives. In a world or in a society of what you see is what you get, and you get what you pay for, then the more you make, the more you can get. That's our society. But the Lord's categories for happiness sometimes can sound strange, odd, mistaken, certainly paradoxical. That's what we hear. Happy are those who mourn. Happy are those who cry. Happy are those who are poor. It sounds like, what does it mean, Lord? So, in this gospel then, Jesus turns upside down our assumptions and expectations. He turns them inside out, and asks us actually to look over and over again at what we take for granted and also to examine, reevaluate our hopes and our dreams for happiness. So the question is very simple. What makes you happy? Even when I was a seminarian, today asked me, Franz, what makes you happy? Is it money? Is it title? Is it position? Is it what we achieve? Sometimes this question is simple but very profound. Each of us has our own reason. So dear brothers and sisters, as Jesus climbs the mountain and gives the Beatitudes, actually Jesus is not giving us a difficult laws, but to teach us the way to true joy. Blessed are the poor in spirit, because their treasure is not in things that rust, but in the love of God. Poor in spirit, we always have a space that need God in our lives. Blessed are those who mourn, because God himself will wipe away their tears. Blessed are the pure in heart, those who are transparent, those who are not deceitful. Or usually we hear double heart. Jesus tells us that happiness is not the absence of problems, but the presence of God in the midst of our struggles. Dear brothers and sisters, to be blessed is to know that no matter what happens, we walk hand in hand with the Master. Who is the Master? Jesus. Stop hiding your flaws from God in prayer. Real spiritual growth begins when we bring our foolish and our weaknesses, those parts, and bring it to the altar and say, Lord, I cannot fix this on my own. You lead. Help me. So, dear brothers and sisters, we will see God's hand when our business is successful and feel God's help. We will see God's beauty in the power of nature or in the wonder of human artistry. And we will see God's presence as we drive our kids like to soccer practice, as we discuss a difficult question with our spouses sometimes, as we look for patience when dealing with somebody or our families. And we will see God's presence in all of these places when or because that we do will be done with and only for God. And then we will be blessed. Let us make a simple space in our hearts. Being single-hearted not only makes us holy, but also it will make us happy. Brothers and sisters, may our joy not depend on how much actually we have, but on whom we have in our lives. A God who made himself small, weakness, humble, even foolish to the world, to the eyes of the world, and he wants to be close to us. So in this Eucharistic celebration, let us just say then, blessed then are we who see with the eyes of faith and find in the simple banquet, in this table, that the real presence of God is present around us, the one in whom we are all blessed. May God always bless us now and forever.